Welcome to the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. Here's your host, Josh Dupuis.
Hello and welcome to the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast. I'm Josh Dupuis, and with me as usual is the man behind the glass, Justin Prince. Just me and you today, Justin.
Yes, it's just you and me today, and right now it is going to be a busy day on the show. Lots of things to talk about in both news and injuries, so it's a great show today, Josh.
Yes, it is. You can reach us by emailing thejdfp@gmail.com, follow us on Twitter at thejdfp, or searching for the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast on both iTunes and YouTube. All right, let's get into some news of the week.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
There's a lot of news today, actually, this week, starting off with Cam Newton. Of course, Cam Newton last week was involved in a car accident and is back at practice 1 week after the said accident. It's currently looking like he may be on his way to playing this week, although during media availability, Derek Anderson took the majority of the snaps during that practice, according to Joseph Person of the Charlotte Observer. Meanwhile, DeMarco Murray had surgery on his hand Monday and is thought of as a game-time decision for this week's game against the Colts. Head coach Jason Garrett said that they will take it day by day and see how he progresses and his injury progresses. The San Diego Chargers also announced that they will be staying at Qualcomm Stadium and will continue to work towards building a new stadium in San Diego. And lastly, Trent Cole will miss this Saturday's game against Washington due to a hand injury. As well, Nick Foles will be out this week as well for the Eagles. Alright, so now we're going to go to the good, the bad, and the ugly, a new segment. Josh?
Just as you said, it's a new segment for us this week. We're going to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly every week pretty much. Whatever I like, whatever I don't like, whatever I think is disgusting, we will talk about. So we'll start with the good. Mario Williams and the Bills. So they beat the Packers, which is huge. But Mario Williams, that late forced fumble that led to a safety in Buffalo's win against the Packers, this makes the next 2 weeks even more exciting. Green Bay is no longer the favorite to win the NFC and get home throughout the entire thing, so it's going to be a good time. Do you see that game?
With that game, I see parts of it, yes and no, and with that game, it seemed like the Buffalo Bills were really playing very well during that game. So I think they are a good shot, the Buffalo Bills, in the AFC to make a run in the playoffs. As for Green Bay, it is just one game, in my opinion. With even if they do have a rough game like they had against the Buffalo Bills here and there, even if they aren't still the favorites for the NFC, that could be still a big thing for them, because if they're not the favorites, people are going to not anticipate they're going to dominate them as much, and people are just going to look over them. That could be the Green Bay Packers could take advantage of that if that's the case.
I think Green Bay is the favorite, in my opinion, to win the whole NFC, but to get the first round, the first place going into the playoffs, it'll be a lot harder for them now. So, like I said, it's going to be a lot more exciting. Going to the bad, Bradley Fletcher of the Philadelphia Eagles. Really the whole Philadelphia Eagles defense for the most part, but Bradley Fletcher it seemed like every single time Dez lined up over top of him, he was beating him deep for a touchdown. And as an Eagles fan, it killed me on the inside to watch that happen. It seems every single week he always seems to be in the right position, but he just doesn't turn his head around, or like there's something, he's getting a penalty. It was bad. I almost put it as the ugly just because of the fact that I am an Eagles fan, and it hurt me that much. But there's definitely an uglier thing. Did you see Dez torch him there?
Yeah, I seen the Cowboys destroy them here and there on Sunday night. When I saw that game, it was a very tough game to watch. If you were, like, with you being an Eagles fan, it looked like the Cowboys were on full cylinders. I think at one point when I was going back and forth that day, it was, I think, 21-7 at one point, if I'm correct. And the Cowboys looked like they were just dominating the Eagles the whole entire game for the most part.
Well, yeah, it started out the game with that. They kicked it off, but they kicked it off short, and then no one picked it up for the Eagles. So the Cowboys just ran all the way down the field and picked the ball up right away. Easy touchdown. They started off the game really slow. They ended up catching up, and they were winning at one point, but they just couldn't put them away with. When you're allowing Des Bryant to just catch touchdowns over single coverage on Bradley Fletcher, a guy that probably wouldn't be starting for any other team in the NFL, it's just bad. But anyway, we'll go to the ugly now, and it's pretty obvious. Johnny Manziel. I was a big supporter of him last week, thinking he was going to come in and light a fire under the Browns, but it was clear that he was either nervous or he just doesn't put too much. I don't know if it's just his whole he's a celebrity and he's going to the Cavaliers games. He's best friends with LeBron James. I don't know if that just got to his head that he didn't think he needed to practice fully or to get into the playbook, to know everything, to watch their game film, all that stuff. I don't know if that was it or if it's just that he's just not a good quarterback.
I watched a decent amount of that game too. I watched the first drive, a 3-and-out. He tried scrambling on the third down play forward like he would do in college. Try and break the pocket, speed forward for a few yards. It just didn't seem like he was that good during the game. And with that, he didn't get the first down there. The team was destroyed basically. Both the Browns offense and the Browns defense were both destroyed for them. Because
putting up 0 points, it doesn't help at all.
Yeah, especially against a divisional rival like the Cincinnati Bengals, where the running back Hill ran for the hills basically.
Did you see he jumped into the dog pound and that Cleveland fan just stiff armed him and threw him down out of the stands. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But so Manziel finished with 10 of 18 for only 80 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He finished with a total QBR of 1.0. And I don't know if there's a difference between quarterback rating and QBR, like if ESPN has their own thing, because I saw a 30.0 other places, but on ESPN it said 1.0, so I went with them. But that's the lowest QBR by any starting quarterback this season and matches Brandon Weeden for the lowest by a quarterback in the first NFL start within his first 5 seasons. So that was definitely the ugly of the week.
Definitely the ugly, especially with the Browns needing a spark.
Yep.
And like you and Mike said, even if they lose all these games there, it will help with Johnny Manziel's development for next season, but that game was just terrible. In fact, I was trying to find, while this was going on, a graphic that was posted on SportsCenter, which compared them to, I believe, the Cleveland Cavaliers and New Orleans Pelicans game, which basically said they had more passing touchdowns if on long full court passes in the NBA than Johnny Manziel had in their entire game.
So you're saying that in the basketball game, they passed it further?
Yeah, about 125 yards, including the amount of length of the court.
Wow.
So it was that kind of a start. And I remember seeing as well a lot of different things with Johnny Manziel. I know a lot of things circulated on Twitter about him laughing on the sideline, looking like he was happy as they were down big time in that game, still without points, still him struggling.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's a good sign or a bad sign, because if it's a bad sign, then he doesn't care if he's winning or losing, he's making money. But if it's a good sign, it shows even if he's struggling during a game, he's still in a good mood and is not going to, be...
Yeah, he's not going to get fazed by it. It just, that's what I'm thinking. If his whole, he needs to cut it out with the money Manziel sign until he actually can prove that he can do something in the NFL, because I don't think he realized how much faster the defensive linemen are in the NFL from college, how much smaller the window is to pass it to an open receiver. It could have just been it was his first start. Everybody was watching him. He felt the pressure, and maybe he'll do a lot better this week. We'll have to see, but he definitely didn't play up to my expectations, that's for sure.
He didn't play up to mine either, and definitely didn't play up to probably what Mike's opinions and expectations were, especially when they found out Manziel was going to start, switched almost half the entire country to that broadcast for the 1 p.m. starts. And now let's actually go into this week's matchup, starting with the Thursday night game on December 18th, the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Currently, the Jaguars, for the 8:25 start, are a 3-point favorite at -3. Josh, what's your opinion on this game coming up?
we had talked about this before we started airing the podcast, and you had said too, it's just two bad teams and one of them's gonna win. That was your exact quote.
Yes,
and that's the truth. The Titans, they just lost. The last week they lost Mettenberger. Well, 2 weeks ago they lost Mettenberger. Then last week now they lose Jake Locker. So it's just they're basically going out there every week with some random person from here on out. So it's going to be hard, even though it's the Jaguars. So it's really a coin flip, to be honest. I'm going Jaguars -3, but I definitely would not bet on this game.
I would have to agree with you because I believe I'm not sure how Charlie Whitehurst is. I know he was the backup before in Seattle, and I'm not sure if he's starting or not, or is injured or whatever. I'm going to have to agree with you. This is going to be an interesting game. Plus, Blake Bortles has some injuries with his foot right now. He was limited in practice today, so it could be an interesting game with both of these teams being as terrible as they are.
Exactly.
And now our next game. So, of course, with this being the Christmas season, there are some games on Saturday. First off is the Philadelphia Eagles, your Eagles, taking on the Washington Redskins at 4:30 p.m. The Eagles are the favorites at 7.5, and Ep.3 was announced to be starting this week, I think a couple days ago, because Colt McCoy is on the injured reserve for the remainder of the season. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, he will be starting, and if you watched their last game last week, it seemed like he was playing a little bit better. He was a little quicker. He got around the edge, ran for what I thought was a touchdown, but they called it a fumble. It's gonna be an interesting game. The Washington's out of the playoff run. They have nothing to play for, but they played the Eagles really hard last time, and it seems like it's just becoming such a huge rivalry, especially with Deshaun Jackson being on the Redskins now. He has something he wants to prove. He's upset about the whole being cut from the Eagles. I can see them playing really hard. There was the late hit by Baker that resulted in a fine. So it's going to be a close game. I don't see the Eagles running away with it, especially the way they've been playing lately. I have the Eagles winning the game, but 7.5 is too much points for me to put on a team that's been struggling as much as they have, especially with Sanchez. It just looks like he just can't hit an open receiver. He's I don't know. I wanted him to start so bad from the beginning of the season over Foles, but when I'm now saying, all right, well let's get Foles back in here. Hopefully he gets healed up quickly. That's when you know it's bad.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I do think the Eagles will win as well this game, but I don't think it's going to be 7.5. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm gonna be probably different than you that with Sanchez and Foles. I personally have always liked Foles kind of more than Sanchez because I know he had, in one game before last season, thrown 7 touchdowns, but then again, it was against the Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah.
Yeah, but right now, I believe the Eagles are going to probably win this game, especially after losing to the Cowboys last week. So, the next matchup, meanwhile, the San Diego Chargers are taking on the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are the favorites for the 8:30 start. So, what's your opinion on this game?
Yeah, the 49ers are favored by 2.5. This game is going to be interesting. The 49ers haven't been playing well at all. Kaepernick hasn't been playing well at all. Their team seems like they're kind of imploding, really. Their coach is not going to be their coach next year, it's looking like. Yeah. Things are going to be shaken up quite a bit. They played their Super Bowl last week. They wanted to beat the Seattle Seahawks. That's their biggest rival. Played their hearts out kind of thing, and it came up short. So I see the Chargers winning the game, actually. So Chargers plus 2.5 for me.
That's actually interesting. I'm trying to think of how exactly to answer this. With the San Francisco 49ers, of course, Harbaugh is not going to be back at the probably next season because this team is just looking very dysfunctional, to be honest.
Yeah, and it could be a matter of because of Harbaugh and his way of coaching, they're not. Some of the players have complained all year about how he gets too much, like he's too rah-rah. He's not. He I don't know. It could just be from. It starts with your head coach. It was the same with the Lions last year. How they had Schwartz that was just seemed like he was just a lit fuse. He was just ready to explode. at all times, and they played like that. Sue was getting in trouble for it. When you follow your coach, and it seems like that they're playing like he's coaching type thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to, if I was to bet on this game right now, I would actually probably agree with you with San Diego probably winning this game, possibly more than 2.5, you know? So now it's Sunday on December 21st, coming up towards the winter solstice and so forth. The Minnesota Vikings will be taking on the Miami Dolphins, as the Dolphins are the favorite 6.5, 1 p.m. start. Josh, what's your opinion on this game?
And this is pretty big to me, because the Dolphins being favored by such a high margin, usually I'm going to go with the line telling me something about it. But last week, the Dolphins gave their everything they had for it. It was their Super Bowl last week. They played against the Patriots, and they got dominated against the Patriots. The first half, it was close, but then the third quarter, Tom Brady came out, and I think they scored 24 points in the third quarter or something like that. It's going to be hard to get up for a game against the Vikings. The Dolphins are 7-7, so the highest they can finish is 9-7. So I don't really see them being able to make the playoffs at 9-7. I don't think there is a chance technically, but it would be very, very, very hard to make it. So I don't think they're going to be able to get up for this game as much as they were to get up last week. I have the Vikings plus 6.5.
Really?
Yeah, I think the Vikings are going to win the game. I don't think they'll get more than 6.5 more than them. But the plus just means within, So,
I get what you're saying with that. And with Minnesota, I believe they played the Lions last week. Pardon me if I'm wrong. With that
16-14 final.
Yeah, exactly. With the Lions winning last week's game and so forth over these Vikings, I'm going to probably say the Dolphins win, but there's no way they're going to get a 6.5, probably by maybe a 3-point victory or so forth.
Yeah, and that's it's obviously really possible. The Dolphins are the better team. I'm just going on the fact of I think the Vikings having a young quarterback, they're going out each week playing hard because they're building for the future, whereas the Dolphins, their coach probably isn't going to be there either next year. There's been talks about him being gone, and then they're going to go for a big name coach there. So whenever you hear inside stuff like that the owner's given up on the coach, it's never a good sign for the team too. So
yeah, okay. And now the next game coming up, the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans. Currently the favorites are the Ravens, 5.5 favorites. What is your choice for this game, Josh, and why?
I'm going to go Ravens and take the minus 5.5. They still have a really good chance to make the playoffs. If they keep winning, they're pretty much guaranteed to be in. The Texans are almost out after a big loss to their rival Colts last week. It's gonna be an interesting game because you never know. J.J. Watt can explode in a game and turn it around completely. But I think the Ravens are the more complete team. They have the quarterback. They have a lot more than the Texans really do. So
yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Probably Baltimore Ravens by that 5.5, because I'm not even 100% sure who's going to probably start that game, because I believe it is currently a battle for the Houston Texans to start the game between Thad Lewis and I believe Case Keenum. Pardon me if I'm wrong, because this team has been hit by injury after injury for quarterback. They've already lost Ryan Fitzpatrick for the season, and I believe somebody else before that, and so forth. It has just been a very tough year for quarterbacks for Houston, and I think that's going to affect how they play this season for this game here, and I definitely agree. The Baltimore Ravens by 5.5.
Yeah, his name is blanking me right now, but he was the backup for the Patriots last year.
For the Patriots,
a really tall
Mallets.
guy. Ryan Mallett. Yeah, him. Yeah, so, I agree.
Yeah, I have to agree. So now the next game, the Detroit Lions take on the Chicago Bears in a big game. I'm going to say this now, big game.
Huge game, yeah.
The Lions are the favorites by 7, and if the Lions win this game, they are in the playoffs. What is your choice for this game?
Yeah, this is a must-win for them for sure, because they're playing against the Packers the week after that, and that's going to be a very, very hard game. Hopefully they put everything they have into this game to win so they can guarantee their playoff spot, because if they lose this week, there's obviously not a good chance they're going to make the playoffs. You never know, obviously. Packers could lose just like they lost to the Bills, but I have the Lions winning it, but I'm going to go with the plus 7. I don't think they're going to beat them by more than 7. Chicago's falling apart, but Detroit could only put up 16 points against the Vikings. Their offense has been struggling while their defense is keeping them in games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you agree that they're going to win. You're a Lions fan, right?
I agree. Yes, I say I'm a Lions fan, yes, and I agree they are going to win, and I have to agree with you with going the +7 because anything could happen with this game going on in Chicago. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and with the Chicago team, Cutler's been struggling. Their whole team's been struggling, but they have the weapons that they can put up points. That Lions being favored by 7 might be a little bit too much.
Yeah, definitely might be a little bit too much, especially with, I know there was discussion with Jay Cutler because I believe one of their coordinators, the offensive coordinator or the QB's coach, pardon me if I'm wrong, had to apologize for technically throwing him under the bus like a couple days ago. So this entire Bears team seems dysfunctional with Jay Cutler at quarterback.
And it seems like it's all the bad teams. every team that's playing bad, they're just exploding from within. So
yeah.
That will definitely be my game to watch on Sunday.
And another game you might want to watch is Johnny Manziel's second game of his career in Cleveland as a starter as they're taking on the Carolina Panthers, with the Panthers being the favorites. Currently, this is one place rest currently, with them being the 4 favorites, with this being empty because Cam Newton, of course, still injured. Or could not start, might start. Could be Derek Anderson still. So what are your thoughts on this game?
That's going to be a big thing. If Cam Newton starts, I'll go more for the Panthers. That would be my my bet. But it's going to be interesting to see if Manziel, like we talked about earlier, if it was just jitters, if he's just a bad quarterback, if he is a rookie, and rookies usually don't succeed. He is very short, so it is going to be harder for him to see over the line. He's going to have to throw a little bit of a higher angled ball, and it could get picked off a lot. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm going to go Panthers -4 if Cam Newton starts.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Even if Cam Newton doesn't start, I'm going to go with that because with the way Johnny Manziel was, I don't know what Johnny Manziel might show up.
Exactly.
It might be the good Johnny Manziel, might be the bad Johnny Manziel, might be cocky Johnny Manziel, might be party Johnny Manziel. I don't even know at this point.
And that was the thing. In college, he was known for scrambling around, making plays in the backfield, and then just kind of throwing it up to Mike Evans.
Yeah.
You can't do that in the NFL. You can't just throw it up unless you have some elite receiver like Calvin Johnson. You can't just really throw it up and you're going to risk a pick, and that's what's going to happen to him.
Exactly. And you mentioned he might have to throw higher up and so forth. That was how he got the 2 interceptions from the Bengals.
Yeah.
Was throwing it higher. So it could be interesting to see if they actually do that. So now with the next matchup as well, this is also in our big divisional game, Atlanta taking on New Orleans. New Orleans is the favorite right now, 6.5 in one of the more closer but terrible playoff races so far. What are your thoughts on this game, Josh?
It's crazy that two teams that are playing so poorly can still make the playoffs, and this is such a huge game for them. To me, the Saints and the Falcons are both up and down teams over and over and over and over again. I can't bet a -6. I'm going to go Saints, but I can't do the -6.5 just because both teams have the ability to score. Both teams have the ability to play no defense at all. So it could go anyway. If Julio Jones plays, I might be swayed over to picking Atlanta, but not even if he plays, if he practices this week, because if he doesn't practice and they just throw him in for the game, he could just be a decoy, and that really doesn't work in the NFL too much, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd go Saints unless Julio practices all week, so that's something to monitor.
I'd also probably go Saints with that game. And definitely not with them being the 6.5. I have to agree with you on that because this could be very interesting. Julio Jones, like you mentioned, could play, might be a decoy, so forth. That might affect the game. It could be a very interesting matchup. I definitely have to agree with you on that. New Orleans is definitely going to probably win this game, but at the same time, they aren't going to win by a touchdown. It's going to probably be a 3-point game, 4-point game,
Exactly.
All right, so now the Green Bay Packers are on the road this week taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Packers are the favorites, 10.5 favorites. What are your thoughts?
This is literally what I have written down. Rodgers is pissed. Bucks are bad. Amen. Packers minus 10.5.
I have to agree with you on that. Definitely have to agree with you on that. With the 10.5, and definitely Green Bay is probably going to win this game. So
yeah, after last week with losing to the Bills, they want that first round bye. They want all of that. They're good quarterbacks, good teams don't lose 2 in a row, especially if it's to a bad team in the Buccaneers. I don't see a way that the Buccaneers come close to winning. Maybe the Packers win by 10, but I'm going to go the minus 10.5.
Yeah, and this matchup could be even bigger with next week as well, with the Lions playing the Packers for the final game of the season, especially if the Packers and the Lions both win. It could be interesting for the division, really.
Yeah.
So, and now next up is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are the favorites for the 1 p.m. start with the 3-point favorites. What are your thoughts on this game, Josh?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh minus 3. I think Le'Veon Bell could be the best running back in the NFL, and the Chiefs have the 28th ranked defense. That's not going to be good for them. Both teams can make the playoffs, but I think Pittsburgh's the better team.
I'm going to have to go fully agree with you on that one there, because I like Pittsburgh with this matchup, both because of Bell and because of the defense, and as well Ben Roethlisberger and so forth. I think the Steelers are definitely going to win this one, definitely by at least 3 points over the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now the next matchup, the Jets are taking on the Patriots at home. Patriots are 10-point favorites for the 1 p.m. start. How bad of a loss do you think this might be for the Jets, or do the Jets actually have a chance in this game? Your thoughts?
See, to me, the Jets, it's crazy because Rex Ryan gets that team to play really, really hard every single game. They don't have the talent to compete and win every single week, and it's hard. It's not Rex Ryan's fault, in my opinion, at all. He gets that team somehow, even with a losing record every single year for the past, I don't know how many years they've had a losing record, but every single time that they're playing hard until the end of the season. Earlier in this season, they played, and the Patriots were at home, and they only won by 2. So I'm going to go the Patriots winning this game, but I'm going to go the plus 10. I think the Jets are going to play them close. They're going to play a hard defensive game. Rex Ryan knows the Patriots. He's had relative success against them for the talent he has on his team. I think a lot of people are going to say that they're going to dominate them, and it's possible, but I'd go the plus 10.
I'm going to have to say, yeah, the Patriots are going to win, but probably more than 10 points, because I've actually, when the Bills and the Jets had the game going on here across the river in Detroit at Ford Field, it seemed like the Jets, they just weren't as good. They can still probably, yes, I agree with you, they might cause a defensively close game and so forth, but it definitely depends on how good this team is prepared for this matchup, and how do the quarterbacks and Michael Vick and Geno Smith play, you know? So that's going to be an interesting game coming up as well. The other New York team, the New York Giants, are taking on the St. Louis Rams. The Rams are the favorites for the first 4:05 p.m. start with the minus 5 favorite. What are your thoughts on this game, Josh?
I think this is going to be a really close game. It's going to come down to the Rams defense. They've played extremely well. They haven't allowed a single touchdown in over 3 games. That's huge. But it's going to come down to, can they stop Odell Beckham, who's just he's been amazing. 3 touchdowns last week. It's crazy that he slipped through the cracks for a lot of teams, that he went as late as he actually did in the draft. I know I was hoping that the Eagles would get him. But I didn't think he would be as good as he actually is right now.
Yeah.
My money would definitely be on the Rams winning, but the plus 5. I think Odell Beckham will be able to score a couple touchdowns. It's gonna keep them in the game. Yeah. So it'll be close.
I have to agree with you on both what your choices as well as with the spread. Definitely the Rams by no no more than 3 points. It could possibly go down to a field goal. It might possibly go down to a game-winning drive or whatever. And I have to also agree with you on Odell Beckham because that's how good this rookie class was this year. You had Mike Evans, you had Odell Beckham, you had a bunch of other players. I believe his teammate, I forget his last name right now, from LSU, is also putting up big numbers. You have a lot of different wide receivers in this year's class that, for rookies right now, putting up huge numbers for their teams.
Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, all these rookie, Jordan Matthews, even for the Eagles. Once Sanchez came in, he was put in a little bit more. It's the deepest receiver class in as long as I can remember for sure.
I have to agree with you on that. And next up, the Buffalo Bills are the favorites taking on the Oakland Raiders at 4:25 in Oakland at the Coliseum. What are your thoughts on this game?
I have the Bills -6. They played a huge game last week. They can still make the playoffs if they win out. This could be a trap game though. If you look at it, they have the Raiders sandwiched between the Packers from last week, and then they play the Patriots next week. It could be as simple as they played their hearts out against the Packers, and then it's hard to get up for the Raiders, especially when you have the Patriots the next week right after it. So they could be looking ahead to it. But the Raiders' offense is ranked 31st in points, 32nd in yards, 24 in pass yards, and 32 in rushing yards against a Bills defense who's fourth, fifth, and ninth in those same categories. So it's on paper it looks like an easy win with an easy cover for the Bills, but they have Kyle Orton as their quarterback. You really never know when it's not an elite team. Sandwiched in between two really big games, but I would go Bills -6.
I'm going to have to say the same thing because the Raiders, yes, they have all those stats and so forth. I personally have been watching here and there the Raiders. I know Derek Carr, their current rookie quarterback, is getting better and better and could have a very big future in this league no matter how the Raiders perform for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anyone thought at the beginning of the season that the Raiders were going to be some big team. I think Carr's played really well for especially what he has around him.
Yeah, exactly. And everything that this team is going to need more time for sure to develop. It's going to be an interesting time to see how they perform next season. But the Raiders, even if they do lose this game and lose their final game of the season, this team is on the uptrend for the next couple of seasons. So Buffalo Bills by 6 or more. All right, so with the Indianapolis Colts now, their next matchup, they're taking on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are the favorites, especially after beating your Eagles, as it is going to be at Jerry's World. So what is your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to go Colts +3, actually. The Cowboys are at home, but they've been much better on the road. I believe they're undefeated on the road this season. Struggling at home. Somehow, I don't know how that works out. I know that their home games are really kind of road games as well, so I don't know how much you can put into that stat because their fans, for whatever reason, every single game I see, if they're playing any team, you see that team's jersey color in the stands. But the Colts are trying to get a first-round bye, so they're probably going to be playing their hearts out. Well, you never know. You never know when it comes to teams that as soon as they make the playoffs, they might want to coast. What do you got for that?
With this matchup, I personally don't even have any clue who's going to win this game.
Yeah, it's such a close.
It's a close game, both with both the spread and if you were to pick just a certain team and so forth. But if I was to go in and try and pick a team, even though if this was Pro Line, for example, I would probably cover this matchup up on a pool ticket or whatever. But basically, with this, I'd have to say I have to agree with you. The Colts are probably going to win this game, yes, and it's probably going to be very close. It could be a 3.4-point game. It might be Andrew Luck winning on a game-winning drive with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go on a pass to T.Y. Hilton or something. It could be a very interesting game, and it is going to definitely be a close game.
And emotion plays a huge part in the game. In every game, and the Cowboys put all their emotions into last week's game against the Eagles. After they lost to them on Thanksgiving, that's all they talked about was that they couldn't wait till they played the Eagles, and They played them. They played them as extremely hard. It still almost gave up the game near the end, but with DeMarco Murray being out, or he might be out, and if he's not out, he's still going to be limited. You can't tell me just having surgery on your hand, you're going to be able to grip the ball or be able to use that hand to hold on to the ball tightly. He's definitely going to at least be limited. So it's gonna allow the Colts to double Dez, so he doesn't do the same thing they did to Bradley Fletcher. So to me, I would go Colts. Okay,
so with the Sunday night football game, it's going to be an interesting one as well. The Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The favorites are the Seahawks, 7.5, and the Cardinals have been riddled with injuries this season at the quarterback position, and it is going to be an interesting game. What are your thoughts?
Well, the Cardinals clinched a playoff spot. They could still be fighting for this first place, and I'm gonna have to say sorry to my buddy Paul, but I'm going with the Seahawks for sure on this. Seahawks -7.5. They've just been way too dominant on defense for me to believe that Ryan Lindley can come in and lead them to a victory. He has 7 games played, 0 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. If Arizona's defense doesn't play their best game they've played all season, this could just be a blowout.
It could be possible too. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I have to agree. The Seahawks are probably going to win this game, yes, and they are most likely going to beat the spread depending on if Ryan Lindley plays like his 7 games played, 7 interceptions. You know? Especially with this defense being as dominant as it is, the Legion of Boom for Seattle. This could be a very interesting game, could be a blowout if this offense doesn't do well and if the defense can't keep up with Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch and so forth.
Exactly.
And now with the Monday Night Football game, the last matchup of this week, it is going to be an interesting one. The Denver Broncos taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who dismantled Johnny Manziel last week. So the favorites are the Denver Broncos with the 3-point favorite for the 8:30 start. What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure if Peyton Manning is suffering from some kind of... I know he's had a history of nerve damage, all of that, because it just seems like the balls he's throwing, they have way less power than they've had in previous years. He's never been known as a power thrower, but it just seems like, especially if there's any wind in the game, his balls aren't getting to where they're supposed to. But it's supposed to be a nice night in Cincinnati, so that could be fine. It could be the same as last week in San Diego, where he's okay. But even if it isn't, the Bengals are ranked 24th against the run, so I can see C.J. Anderson running all over them. I'm going Broncos -3.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that, and I'm not even sure what's going to happen with Peyton Manning, to be honest, because Peyton Manning, I know he was out for a little bit during that game. And
I don't know if he was dehydrated or I heard his hip, and then I heard that he was suffering from some kind of flu symptoms.
Yes, I heard a lot of those things too. I know Brock Osweiler played a few drives as well in these. I believe a couple in the first half, I believe, and maybe 1 or 2 in the third quarter.
Okay.
Pardon me if I'm wrong about that. And I know Peyton Manning, this guy is definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. Yes, he's going to be a Hall of Famer no matter what, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens against the Cincinnati Bengals, and yeah, so...
Yeah, and I pointed this out last week too. I ended up being wrong about the Browns, but I'm still not a big believer in the Bengals. They haven't beaten anyone this good this year. I still think they're the most overrated team in the NFL, but maybe they'll prove me wrong yet again this week.
Maybe yes, maybe no. But either way, I still think the Broncos are going to win no matter what the Bengals try and do, even if it's a close game or a blowout, So... All right, so Josh, you want to wrap things up for today's show?
It's pretty good. We got, about 40 minutes on the show? It's
yes,
perfect
we are
timing. That's what we wanted to stick to.
40th minute. So.
Yeah, exactly what we want to stick to around, so perfect timing for us. So you can reach us by emailing the JDFP@gmail.com, following us on Twitter @TheJDFP, or searching the Josh Dupuis Football Podcast on both iTunes and YouTube. For Justin Prince, I'm Josh Dupuis. Thanks for listening.